Okay, everybody, we're going to get started here. The good news is, I believe Alan Steinfeld just fixed the air conditioning, so it should be getting much cooler right away. Thank you, Alan, one of your many talents. Up next, we have Lifetime Achievement winners from Contact in the Desert, which is JJ and Desiree Hurtak. We're thrilled to have them. They've been here many, many, many years. They're going to be talking today with Alan Steinfeld. The three of them are going to be talking about another level of disclosure, and that is the consciousness level, and talk about that whole high strangeness level of this aspect of the phenomenon. So please join me in welcoming all three of them, Alan, Desiree, and JJ. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Is this on? Well, that is Captain Ron. He makes this whole thing possible with brie mats. I mean, give him a hand. This is an incredible achievement to be here at this time in the age of disclosure. We are in this age. Just can't think of a better time to be here on the planet than now, and a better place to be than here with our community of people who can say to their relatives, I told you so, right?
Yeah,
right.
This is a very exciting conference, and we are talking about both extraterrestrial. We'll start with that, and moving into multidimensional non-local reality. And
so
that's part
by
of
background, let's just say we work with the astronauts. We also work behind the scenes with Stanford Research Institute scientists who proved, after 20 years of research sponsored by our government, that we are capable of non-local consciousness, that we are capable of connecting with the cosmic others if we wish, and that we are prepared for a quantum jump into the future.
I just want to say, some people talk about the fear coming up for meeting these beings. This is the most exciting time in human history. It's pure wonder and amazement. So there's nothing to fear, because consciousness is the key to exchange. And the more aware we are, the more we can meet them on an even playing field. That's really a message I want to deliver.
Yeah, and we too, because the thing is that we're not just little underdogs here finding out what's going on. We're actually on par with other levels of intelligence. But there are myriads of other levels. We're going to be talking about that first and foremost, because this is really what made disclosure more complicated. They haven't gotten there yet. They've only released certain information, as all of you probably know. But there's such a myriad of other intelligences that have been visiting our planet.
So we're going to start off with a few of our expeditions. At the top left, with Elizabeth Clare from South Africa, who claimed to have been taken to another dimension.
But actually, they said they wanted to have her, even though the guy was really good looking. The guy in the picture is the person that picked her up. But actually, they wanted to replenish their DNA, even though they came from the same. They're Nordics. We're Nordics, if you want to classify us as a specific race. And then you have the Greys, or the J-Rods in this case.
Which I presented in 1995 in Washington, D.C. This is a very important event. It's not well known, but these were government insiders, and I had a chance to have a mannequin dressed like the J-Rod working behind the scenes at Area 51. It is claimed as an illustration of science behind science, what has been going on behind the scenes for more than 40 years.
Right. So I want to say, it's not just, oh, there's a new species here. I love to talk about, how do these beings think? What do they know about the nature of reality that we don't know? And I'll give you my favorite line from John Mack, is that UFOs and ETs are like an outreach program from the cosmos for the consciously impaired. That's us, the consciously impaired.
Well, we're no longer going to be consciously impaired. Anyway, there's also the praying mantis types, which I would classify as one of the insectoids. And then we don't have the reptilians here. Of course, that's another type. We have it later on. But then they've been around for a while. This is the stones from Mexico.
Jalisco.
Yeah, the Jalisco stones, as some people call them. And basically, even though not some of them got remade, and some guy decided, like a crop circle, oh, I'll make one too. But basically, they have been known all over North and South America for a very, very long time.
Right, and so there's evidence here, and with these archives, these files that are being released, we have to ask, what aren't they telling us? Why have they been kept this a big secret. What is the big thing? And we'll get to that. We'll get to that why.
This would explain why the governments of the world, including the Russian and the Chinese, have been reluctant to put all the cards on the table. There's too many categories, and some of these categories deal with higher consciousness, which most traditional scientists are not prepared to accept.
Well, Dr. Jack wrote a book called Key 408 because he has various keys of Enoch, and later he put some additional ones out. And we go through some categories. So I'm just going to read you this longer paragraph. Most of the time it's short. Who are the ETs? The extraterrestrials generally are evolving just as humans are. That's really important. You know, people think maybe Jesus was an extraterrestrial or whatever. We say, hell no. There's myriads of categories of intelligence. The extraterrestrial are kind of close to us. You'll see that. Some are a little bit more advanced, as we say. Okay, they're evolving just as humans, although they function in other local dimensions. So we're in the third dimension. A lot of them function in the third and fifth dimensions. That's why they can go through walls. Some can even function up to the seventh dimension.
So the local as well as non-local simultaneously.
Yeah, and wisdom with discernment helps us make a distinction. We all have to have a discernment. That's so important. Between merely technologically advanced cultures and spiritually conscious advanced cultures from amongst the myriads of local cosmic species. There's going to be a lot. There's, we're going to show you the book, Extraterrestrial Species Almanac. They have like over 80 extraterrestrial races from the MUFON files that have been found. So there's not just 1, 2, 3, or 4. There's actually a lot.
Yeah, and the government just wants to give us information, but without a context to it. So we're giving you a context to how this phenomena really operates, how it affects consciousness, how it awakens us to be humans with a greater expanse of experience. We want to know more. We want to feel more. We want to live in a greater world. And we need to step outside the box of the old realities. And here's the new realities.
And just to say, many of the ETs have their own agendas. That's something we'll be talking about.
For example, in 1986, a series of remarkable events took place.
Which is actually 40 years ago.
Southeastern Australia. Brazil.
Brazil.
But also later we found out in Australia and more recently in Campeche, Mexico, a flotilla of spacecraft appeared that seemed to have a multidimensional signature. I was able to get the original film documents for NASA to illustrate, but NASA scientists said this is way beyond clarification. It went to my colleague, Colonel Wendell Stevens, Air Force Intelligence, who was open to this because he was the only one looking at the fact that there was several different categories probing human society at the particular time. But what we see here is a V-shaped formation.
It's really a flotilla.
21 vehicles claim to have invaded Brazilian airspace, but the purpose of this, later we found out, was they're blowing the whistle on a new military site that even the Brazilians themselves did not know was being erected by the military regime.
What about the fact that that looks like a life form, JJ, or some type of DNA?
Well, this is, again, why we have to push the envelope and realize what ancient India, Tibet, China, and Japan understood are the regions of the avatars, those who are beyond 3- and 4-dimensional life. They have gone beyond evolution as we define it and are capable of coming into our dimension and defying all efforts of our military jets, or in this case, Brazilian authorities, bringing them to a meaningful conversation.
Right, so this took place over also 4 states in Brazil, but one of them was over an airport. And it's interesting, we did a little clip with Jaime Maussan. It since 2023 to 2026, actually over 24 airports have closed because of strange sightings. They're calling them drones now. El Paso just closed in February 2026. El Paso,
well, before you go too far, who's Jaime Maussan?
Yeah.
Jaime Maussan is the most acknowledged journalist in Latin America, reaching 22 countries. I had trained Jaime back in the 80s. He's probably the most open and reflexive thinker as to why the U.S. and, for that matter, all of the superpowers are being visited at the present time.
Right, so he cites Japan, China, Russia, Munich, Berlin, Romania, Belgium and others, Denmark was another, all have closed their airports because of strange drone sightings just like this. Sometimes they could track them on radar, sometimes they can't. When they send fighter jets here, they sent 5 Brazilian fighter jets up there, could not get them.
So, Alan, do you think this is the reason they're coming to push our government to
push our
release?
governments? I mean, some people say either you tell them or we'll tell them, meaning that the time is imminent. They're showing up in greater and greater numbers. I also want to say, before J.J. Hurtak met Jaime Maussan, he was just a regular journalist. And J.J. said, you know, there's this big thing happening, and he went with it. Jaime is now the biggest broadcaster in Latin America on the UFO phenomena.
But where did disclosure really start? So actually, we're going to give you 2 possibilities here. One is in Britain. The Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, I know everyone knows his name, ordered a UFO cover-up on the 5th of August in 1944 due to a confirmed military sighting of a UFO. And then a secret 1957 report prepared for British intelligence chiefs said there was an average of 1 sighting reported a week. Way back then. That's exactly during World War II. They were watching us. They're really not into war games. They really want us. In fact, they're watching. You would say that we would be in outer space if we weren't playing war games, right?
Well, yeah, we are actually in outer space. Actually, Stephen Bassett, though, said it was too much to present people with the idea of UFOs while we're fighting the Germans for freedom, the saving the world. So how do you put this thing on top of that? So they waited, and then lies led to more lies, to 80 years of lies, and now finally we're getting a little leak of what's possible.
In our country in 1941, there was a retrieval of a non-human alien. That went undercover at Wright-Patterson.
It's called Cape Girardeau, and it's claimed that the military came and took everything away, probably to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, is what people think.
So since 1941, the government's been aware of what's going on. They've kept it secret. And why did they keep it secret, Dr. Hurtak?
Well, in the context of the beginning of World War II, it was considered that there would be public panic to realize there were beings that didn't look like us that were monitoring the human race at that particular time on a worldwide basis.
And also, okay, so 3 reasons. 1, cover-up has taken 80 years. That's a lot to cover up. A lot of things happened during that time. 2, as Dr. Hurtak said, the myriads of different species watching us, maybe in some cases in more modern times, neutralizing nuclear weapons in their silos, as Robert Salas says. And 3, I think the most important, which is coming out now, which is the technology. The U.S. doesn't want the Chinese and the Russians to get the technology. We've back-engineered.
Wait, I'll give you a 4th reason. Okay. Because when they find these crash retrievals by the government, they are given to private industry, and private industry develops that technology, which belongs to the American people. So something highly illegal is going on, and those corporations don't want that to stop. That's
kind of 3B.
Well, sure, it's close, but we're making a difference. I think everyone has been coming to these conferences, going back into the world, saying, "Look what I just heard." This is why our job is so important. Just being here, being in community, talking with each other, telling you stories about what's happening to you. What do you perceive? That's why I love these conferences, and the great thing Ron put together here. And this is the 14th year. So thanks to us, I think disclosure is, thank you. Thank you.
And to a lot of the people speaking here, they've been working directly, like Danny Sheehan and Eric Davis directly, and Jeremy Corbell as well. He's connected with some of this.
So the big events really began to unfold in 2004. Some of you know I had an experience in 1973. In a higher state of meditation, I had communication that's resulted in a book called The Keys of Enoch, you see here in the front. And in that book, I was given a world grid, a map of where ancient civilization was, where to go. And this is what led to our expeditions beneath Egypt, beneath the ocean off of China and Japan, and also into the mountain areas of South America. But 2004 was an interesting point of contention. Most of the ufologists didn't accept what I said, except some things did happen in 2004.
Yes, and so it was until 2017 that the press really came forward, mostly from the material gotten out from
Pentagon.
Well, in 2004, the Nimitz, the ship off the coast of San Diego, had these close encounters. This is where David Fravor, followed this thing called the Tic Tac and chased it, and then it knew where it was going to go. It's a whole thing. If you know the Nimitz
Yeah, you
story.
know it.
Well, that's 2004, but the New York Times then focused on that when they released the article in 2017 saying UFOs are being studied by the government. So that's brought us to the next phase of this phenomenon, interactions with the phenomenon, and now we're in the third phase. There was Roswell, there was 2017, and now this huge release of just trickling out, but still it's huge. Though we're in the phase of disclosure.
But you can see how often Southern California has been in the limelight of UFOs. So in 2004, you also have 2019 of July, and you have all these really naval ships that have cited them in many ways. And then also, more recently, Chief Wiggins came out, and he also, off the coast of Southern California, saw.
But this is not just a U.S. situation. It's a worldwide phenomenon. The report
Perhaps the most amazing thing in 2004 was in Mexico, in the state of Campeche. Over 100 vehicles appeared, each one over 25 stories. Like whole flotilla. We tried to get the Mexican government. They were, of course, self-motivated to release the information. A call came down from the authorities in the United States. The world was not prepared, and so this story was put aside. One of the pilots was a member of our Academy for Future Science, and so we were able to see behind the scenes that there was a movement to awaken the world quickly because of what we're now experiencing on a massive level. Consciousness change.
Right. South America, it's known. It's not hidden so much. In Europe, in France, Germany, Italy, actually, 1933, there was a crash ship in Italy. So this is a worldwide, for Asia, Africa. I mean, we're not being invaded, but we're being woken up to the fact that we're not alone in the universe. We've never been alone in the universe. If we think we're alone, can you imagine they'll look back in the future at this time and they'll think, oh, those Earthlings thought they were all alone in the universe? I mean, how ridiculous is that? It's like thinking the Earth is the center of the galaxy, of the world. So we're not alone. And you know what? We're not living in a dead universe. The universe is full of life, full of consciousness, and they want to meet us unless we have to get our act together. You have to clean up your room before you get company. Well, we have to clean up the mess we made.
Do we need a real soul or a plastic soul?
No.
Yeah, we know we need to clean up. They're not going to do it for us, but they may assist.
Say that France actually is going to have its first hearing to their Congress as of the end of June. It's already scheduled, already planned. So we'll see if they don't start disclosing now. Actually, a few years back, the producers of this film came out, and this is, again, produced by literally Craig Campobasso, but also MUFON gave a lot of the information for this for over 80 extraterrestrial species. We're just going to show you the short trailer.
And this is just an example of how full our universe is of many forms of life. So this is a really amazing thing.
All shapes, all forms of life.
All consciousness.
But are we ready?
We have to be.
Does the collective seed overcome the parochial seed? The collective consciousness over the individual singularity? The scientific and spiritual unity over simply material-oriented science? Of course, these are over-dramatized, but the kernel is there.
The U.S. government had at least 3 different projects to officially study UFOs.
The veils between our reality and the higher reality are getting thinner.
At this point in their evolution, Bashar's people, the Sasani,
consciousness, which is giving us a choice in our evolution.
They would like to help humanity. His face reminded Betty of that of an Asian person.
They did have 2 arms, 2 legs, but their head was like elongated.
The skin color is typically going to be a greenish color or a grayish color.
The Mothman is this gigantic creature, looks kind of like a moth.
Those who are waiting for silver and gold spaceships to come and save humanity are waiting in vain.
So there you have it. A brief overview.
Yeah.
And we don't want to leave out the indigenous people. Desiree and I are honorary chiefs with the Shavanti in Brazil. The indigenous have been marginalized. We want to say that our cosmic others come in all shapes and sizes and traditions. But the important thing that brings us together is consciousness awareness.
Well, I just want to say, can you imagine the renaissance we are about to go in technologically, biologically, historically, the real history of the Earth? This is a time, we're at the edge of a whole new, it's like Columbus is discovering the new world for the Europeans. And we're about to hit that new level of consciousness, of society, of possibilities that we never thought of before. Think if we had a free energy machine in everybody's home, how amazing that would be. Well, that's what's possible. This is the age we are at the threshold of. It's so exciting for me.
Right, and ETs are anti-nuclear. We saw them also around Fukushima. I think some of you are familiar.
We were there in Japan when that happened.
Yeah, we didn't.
This is
you can actually see in the films, they look very carefully over the nuclear facilities.
At the time of the meltdown.
Yeah.
There was a...
And you can find this on Encounters. There's 4 programs on Encounters on Netflix, and this is the 4th one. And they even said they think the ETs are here to help. Now, not all of them are. Again, this is just one of many.
They may have neutralized some of the radiation coming off of Fukushima.
They also fly over the nuclear power plant in Argentina called Atucha, which is always leaking. And there's others like Bentwaters. This last picture, of course, Robert Saleh talking about ICBMs. And
Robert Saleh was at a base in 1967 with the UFOs shut off the nuclear warheads, and he reported that to Congress as well.
And
I was there with Nick Pope and Larry Warren when the British government decided to release different levels of information.
Yeah.
But the important thing is Larry Warren blew the whistle on nuclear capabilities there in Europe.
At Rendlesham Forest, that was a 1980 landing, 3 days at a U.S.-UK military base, and this ship landed, and they call it the British Roswell, but...
So we're going to go through this kind of quickly because everyone should know it. Otherwise, check out your YouTube. But July 26, 2023, you had really the very beginning of Graves, Grush, and the person who was connected with the 2004 site, Captain Favor.
I just want to say in 2023, we're all at contact in the desert here when Grush made his announcement about we're not alone in the universe. That was an epic moment for 2023. Yeah. So, and then they're here at Congress because he came out at that News Nation interview. So this is Grush's first testimony.
Finally, seats were found for responsible Congresswomen and Wynn to take their role in giving us a blueprint. Now that blueprint is being fulfilled in chapter by chapter.
So this is Robert.
Over 1 billion hits on the government websites as to what's really happening in Washington besides violence.
So I'm not going to play this, but basically Ryan Graves, who you saw sitting there, talked about the fact of what we showed on the East Coast by Virginia, which is really close to Washington, D.C., that once they improved their radar, and they thought at first they were making a mistake, and then they saw it on other platforms, that there's UFOs all the time.
Over military bases. How is that possible? How are we not being told that? Why isn't anyone doing something about it? Because they can't. That's why. There's a $1 trillion military budget, and we are defenseless, so and they're not here to invade. They're here to wake us up and say, hey, guys, get your stuff together.
And everyone wants wants to know about what just came out, of course, everyone knows war.gov, UFO. You should go look at that. So in May...
Wait, I just want to say, and JJ said there was been 1 billion views of that website, not maybe by 1 billion people, but 1 billion views to see what's going on.
I've been there at least 5 times.
So it's more than just birds flying over ocean water.
Well, what's interesting is in Age of Disclosure, the movie, which we highly recommend, it's on Amazon for a small fee, they talk about the fact that the UFOs, and we believe in this, was encircled by a type of bubble, which is how they're able to travel.
Well, if there's a time-space bubble around these UFOs, this is what Hal Puthoff talks about in the Age of Disclosure. That means the time-space inside that craft is different from the time-space outside that craft.
And Ryan Graves talked about that too, how they saw a bubble with a cube inside of it because the vehicle is able to just travel and do things without affecting the inside because it's held by this bubble phenomenon.
So what is this saying, Ellen? Everything's up for grabs.
I think
scientists have to redraw the map of their scientific evolutionary theories.
Yeah, but you have to change.
Theologians have to reconnect. It was the evolutionary story of humanity in the universe.
We have to change how we think about reality in order to understand their technology. Right now, we're running our world on Newtonian physics. That's 400-year-old physics. You put energy out, you get energy back. There's something else that these beings know because they've activated our consciousness that we need to find out, but only by activating our awareness to higher levels.
We need to march on Washington. So here is our next exhibit. You can see Danny Sheehan.
Oh, yeah.
And Ellen is right behind Danny.
Danny blocked me out, but I'm...
Desiree up the upper right side of the hearing.
I'm up here behind the white shirt.
We were part of Alan Steinfeld's New Realities TV
And these are the orchestrated
party.
thinkers and presenters, but are they real whistleblowers?
Yeah,
I mean, whistleblowers don't go into situations of saying, well, you need a private space.
Well,
now, these aren't whistleblowers. These are part of an orchestration.
Well, Gallaudet is here, and he has a chance to talk about that. Elizondo, intelligence, counterintelligence coming forward, well, maybe. Michael Schellenberger, reporter, very interesting to say there really is a cover-up going here. He's not even into UFOs, but he said there is something going on.
So Alan and New Realities, this is his podcast on YouTube. He's covered all of this stuff.
I was in that room at Congress, live streaming it to my friends here, commenting on it.
But as I have to say, even though the people you're looking at were excellent in what they were doing, the best was Representative Luna. She's from Clearwater, Florida. That's by Tampa. And she asked the following questions. Now, because of our time, I'm just going to do questions 4, 5, and 6. And really, she did a better job of asking than they did of responding. But anyway, so let's go on. In regards to these aircraft being piloted by whatever they may be, non-human biologics, would you agree that it is likely they are being piloted by some mind-body connection?
And Elizondo says stalked. I don't know what that means.
Well, it means he could try to talk about it, but the idea is when they see them, this is the government, the Navy, the whatever, military, they actually are like almost consciously linked to what's going on. So if someone's coming after them, like a military is coming after a UFO, they'll know what to do. They actually, would say, diverge to other realities because they're...
That's where the whole psionics things come from. We can make mental contact with these ships. People have been known to be on the ships and fly it with their minds. We have that possibility, but we've been dumbed down to think your consciousness is only so big. We have an infinite consciousness. We're going to be teaching remote viewing on Sunday, which shows you we are connected to infinity. It means you can see beyond this local time space. And when we develop that, we'll be able to meet these beings on a greater playing field.
So question number 5. In our previous panel, we had David Grush, and he testified to say that some of these were interdimensional beings. Can you speak on that at all?
Well, JJ, you met an interdimensional being. Can you tell us what that was like?
They are able to download information quickly if one has a pure heart, and if one is positive in one's orientation, one receives more information because the information is both micro as well as macro. In other words, it's not for the individual, but for collective society. And then it's also connected with spiritual insights of cosmic law, that you do not allow individuals from one part of the universe to come and change the biological rules of another.
So it also asks, are you inferring that they are living craft? Because the craft ties in or shares the consciousness with those that are piloting it.
But you see how if they knew that this would be catastrophic disclosure, only because people don't realize the amazing potential they have. Everyone thinks their mind is their private little sanctuary. No, you can interface with other minds. That's what telepathy is about. That's all about the telepathy tapes. Have you heard the telepathy tapes? These beings, these autistic nonverbal people are able to tap into these higher levels, and they're teaching us how to do that. That's why we're at this revolution in consciousness.
Number 6 probably is the most interesting. Do any of you ever come across reports from people who claim that who have firsthand experiences with these entities, whatever they may be, or these aircraft, and then as a result, whether they are not religious,
or whether they are religious, actually
find that these beings automatically disappear.
Yeah, so there's something about the consciousness that we have that connects with the consciousness that they are. And so there's certain avenues of intelligence that want to have us becoming more spiritual, and others that want us to really code it down.
I think what the Hurtaks are saying, they are equal to us if we just knew our potential of who we really are, really.
In the research that Dr. Hynek and Dr. Jim Harder were connected with, as well as other investigators from beings who were taken up in a spacecraft in various locations in the U.S., if one uses certain religious or, should we say, positive affirmations, more likely than not, there is a positive result.
Right, and so also on May 1st, 2025, wasn't an official hearing, but you have Avi Loeb, you have Admiral Gallaudet who's here, Eric Davis who's here, and then you have Representatives, Luna and Burleson and Burchett, Chris Mellon and Lou.
So at that hearing, Eric Davis called out the 4 different types of ET races that we have in our possession. He was allowed to say that. He's going to tell us more this weekend, I hope. And it was a really amazing revelation to hear different ET species named at a congressional hearing. I mean, that's science fiction, but it's here. It's the future. We are living in the future, and it's now.
All been saying that for a long time. In fact, of course, you go back to ancient Egypt, and they said it too. So this is the boat of Nut down in
or the mothership, as it's often referred to.
You have the reptilians, like the crocodile guys, even some with 2 heads. You have the bird-faced ones. You have also
heads of lions or snakes or cats.
3,000 years old.
The cat-faced ones.
And you know what's interesting? It's all in the body of Newt. Newt would cover the sky with her body at night. That's when these beings would appear.
So the indigenous know this also because we work with the Hopi, we work with the Kogi, we work with the Shavante. They have been visited, and the Kogi have told us because of the industrial north and the plastic tragedy that's taking place with the oceans of the world, we have to get our act together if we're going to survive.
Right, well, think of the cafes ones, okay? Right, 3,000 years ago or whatever, down in the tombs there. And then think of this release, and it says it, declassified May 8, 2026. You'll find it on war.gov/UFO. And what you find is this executive summary. Alan, do you want to go for it?
This is the executive. On January 12, 1994, approximately 2300 hours, a non-terrestrial humanoid entity was encountered by U.S. Army Reconnaissance Patrol during a routine parameter sweep of the Nevada test training site. The entity appeared to be a bipedal female form with feline creatures, including external ear appendages and a caudal appendage, meaning tail. The entity exhibited intelligence, communicated in English, and displayed non-hostile behavior. The entity was temporarily detained, medically examined, and later released. That's weird. Go ahead. Thanks for visiting our Army base. But so the other.
She talked him into it.
Some investigators claim that we have ET diplomats.
Right.
In various places throughout the world.
Mind control. Yeah.
And also, she had gray silver eyes. You could look at this on the website there. 20, 25-year-old Earth years, and seemed highly intelligent. I mean, this is being released. I mean, and no, the thing about the government, I think Trump said, oh, look at the files, have fun with this. This is not about having fun. This is really understanding the universe we're in. And what have they known for 80 years in their, they've been looking at this.
So this is a short capitalization The
Right.
tall whites or tall blues. We're
Praying
not restricting
mantis.
to color.
The praying mantis, the grays, what we call the Adamic species, we're going to try to get into that still, and the reptilians. Just an idea of the four.
Some people say all the
5
animals
categories.
here on the planet Earth are miniatures of races out there. I don't know if that's true, but
Well,
that's what people
obviously
say.
the animals and insects have their own gods.
Well,
This is why in the ancient scriptures, the mystics and the true scholars refer to the God of gods.
Well, we're going to show you now a film that, were you one of the assistant
Yeah,
producers
I was
on
the
this?
executive producer of this film called The Hidden Hand, made by James Carman.
Real short.
This gives us another
One government
perspective.
expert here that's very important, involved with remote viewing. Types of aliens.
This is just to prepare us.
By the way, there's not them and us. There's us and them and them and them and them and them. You've got the groups that are psychic and the groups that are not psychic. And within each one of those, you have those that are friendly and those that are unfriendly. The friendly psychic groups are here to help us. The unfriendly psychic ones want us dead.
There are what they call low-level contacts, and that would be with some of the grays and some of the reptilians. Those groups definitely have an agenda. The higher beings that are coming in right now are putting an end to that, just due to the presence of the ultra-dimensionals and the more spiritual and technologically advanced beings.
In 1973, I had a remarkable experience of seeing what I call a whole-light being manifest in a ball of light. This opened my mind to the realization that vast areas of information would be given to the human race, from genetics to cosmology, preparing each of us for a renaissance, a global awakening to the fact that we are cosmic citizens, preparing to experience what I call a new chapter in the book of life.
Anyway, we're going to go on. So you're familiar with, of course, the September 9, 2025.
Well, I just want to say one thing about the thing.
Okay.
People fear some of these aliens. It's like people. Most people you meet are kind of nice. Occasionally there's someone you don't want to run into. But, you know, the species out there are really, I think, we're all connected through consciousness. So there's really nothing to fear except fear itself, right?
Right.
Isn't
No,
that
absolutely.
Franklin Roosevelt?
Exactly. Exactly.
Anyway, we're in a
we-
new world of many dimensional realities.
And each of these are military people, except George Knapp at the in the center there. They all had experiences. The first time military personnel in front of Congress and the world admitted their contact experience.
Right. So
The spiritual mystics and the indigenous in particular have an open-mindedness and selection factor that we need to understand to have hope rather than fear.
Right, so Nuccitelli is here at the conference. Please listen to him. He's out at Vandenberg Air Force Base. He was, at least. And you all know where that is. Chief Wiggins was also off the coast of San Diego on one of the U.S. Military, well, I should say Navy vessels, and saw also, similar to what was seen in 2004.
And George Knapp, the great journalist who's
He's
been all
here
over the world. and
this
of course,
week.
And also Borland, who was off of the close to on the East Coast.
And
by Langley.
Boylan still says he can't speak about what he saw because he's under an NDA. But let's see.
So we just want to say everyone knows about the release, and it really started in February. And we just want to encourage the fact that we feel that Obama and Trump somehow, or we're told to get it together and get going, okay? Maybe from all the airport drone sightings that went around the world. So Obama was the first to release, we'll say, kick off the play.
Yeah, so listen to what he says.
Are aliens real? They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being
He
kept
says they're
in,
real. Confirmation.
Area 51. Area 51. There's no underground facility unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States.
Barack? There's an
Who was the
enormous
first
conspiracy.
question? Are aliens?
Anyway, and then actually it went to, and Trump's always on the airplane. I don't know where he's going, but he's always on the airplane. And I'm just going to say, you can go look at this in C-SPAN because our time is running out, actually. But bottom line on all this, he said, he was asked by the reporter about Obama, and he said, well, Obama released classified information. He shouldn't have done that. And so then the reporter comes back to him and said, well, ultimately, he says, can't the president help him on that or something? And then he goes, well, maybe I'll have to release the information to make sure Obama doesn't get in trouble.
So
That's just a summary of what he said.
This led to the release of, like, what I think we've seen 200 files so far.
And, you know, we feel this is a little bit of a cover-up because if you go back to Chaim Hesed, who was a general in the Air Force of Israel, he's now retired, but he claimed...
Who wrote this book, and his comments on the planet Mars confirm what I was shown by looking at the original film brought back by Mariner 9 that I had already seen through remote viewing the pyramidal grids on Mars.
But he claimed that President Trump...
So it's a much bigger picture than the politicians, no matter if they're presidents or presidential advisor or astronauts.
So he claimed that President Trump knew about UFOs back in 2019 and was told by ETs not to announce them. That's what he's claiming. Now, our good friend, Uri Geller...
Yes,
Go
take
ahead.
it away.
Now, he's a little bit political. Don't look at him if you're like into
We're not left wing
pro-Israel.
or right wing, we're up wing. Keep that in mind because the cosmic others are coming. There's no sense in playing old political games.
But
We are for non-violent solutions.
But he was commenting on, we'll say, on Obama. Listen to his comment. Because Obama said, yes, they're real, extraterrestrials are real, but Area 51 is not. So this is his comment.
Hi, my dear friends. Obama says aliens are real, but Area 51 could be a conspiracy theory. Of course, he's right, because a UFO did crash around Area 51. The bodies that were pulled out of that UFO, some were mangled, some were wounded, some were intact. I've seen them. They were taken to Goddard Space Flight Center to be studied and refrigerated, close to freezing. Listen, this is exactly what I've seen in that huge refrigerated room. As big as my museum. Of course, this is an animated photo. There were quite a few of them, and they looked very much like this one here, frozen. And as I said, some were injured. Look, I've been told many times not to talk about something to do with Korea.
Okay, I just want to say another tweet that Uri Geller, who had a UFO experience when he was 8 years old, then could do all these incredible things like bend spoons, be an incredible remote viewer, he's part of the remote viewing program at SRI. But he says, I think UFOs are the key to why government is terrified, because once humanity understands that consciousness truly extends beyond the brain, beyond the body, beyond space-time, everything changes. Religion changes, science, politics, power changes. That is what I believe disclosure has been delayed so long, and why the biggest revelation is still hidden, because the ultimate secret is not that we're alone, it's that humanity itself is far more powerfully connected to the cosmos than we ever imagined.
So let's take that.
Yes. That's Uri Geller.
So why are we far more connected? Well, this is back to Dr. Hurtak's book, Key 408. The Adamic species, that's us, exists throughout our sun universe. That's the local experimental realm. There are also similar races within our species, tall whites, blue-skinned ones, elongated skulls, as seen in ancient Egypt and Peru. Yet because we are an intelligent, powerful race, we can also be violent, possessive, and warlike. And we actually are really connected with certain planets like Arcturus.
Africa and other parts of the world.
Arcturus, Meton is a planet connected with Centauri, Pleiades, Orion, and others.
This has to do with the idea of panspermia, and Gary Nolan says the DNA molecule is older than the Earth. The DNA is 9 billion years old. The Earth is only 4.5 billion. So that means that possibly we were seeded by other races.
So we consider Adam both male and female. Are we hybrids? Many people like to say that, but really it depends how you define it, because if you go back to Genesis 3:21, it said, and God made garments of skin for Adam and his wife, and he clothed them. What did we have before that? That means we were outside of the third dimensional reality. We were existing in fifth to eighth dimensional, maybe even 12th dimensional reality, and we
We're
chose
in vibratory form.
And we chose to come here.
So our work with Virgil Armstrong and others throughout the world has shown that there are some probes that want us out of business because of what we've done with the animals. and the subordination and marginalization of different races and people.
But there's also alien intelligences that actually want what we have. And
Our
supposedly,
soul.
yes, this is one of the things from Nigel
The
Connor.
bottom line, you stack all of these thousands upon thousands of reports together from all parts of the world, the indigenous leaders, the spiritual mystics of all traditions know that we have a very important soul. Psyche in the Greek, in the Hebrew, the higher neshama, or the soul spirit, is at stake for the next round of existence.
I would say it's our ability to feel. These hybrids that are being made by the gray ETs lost their ability to feel. The grays so they need our genetics, which contains our emotional capacities, to mix with their high intelligence to create this other race. That's why I think they're taking the blood of these cows and creating these huge vats of incubation for their hybrid species.
And that's not every species. That's some extraterrestrials are interested in certain aspects of who we are, not for our benefit, but for their benefit. Others are helping us for our benefit.
And we're going to see where Steven Spielberg stands after 50 years, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, to many of my colleagues on the inside.
Right.
It was a great joke to have the humans see these strange non-Adamic forms appear as our present of evolution. No, to the contrary, all of the indigenous speak of a higher avataristic or Christ-like or Buddha-like intelligence that will interact with the human race.
Exactly, and we have to get out of this linear thinking. So one of the great people of this whole movement is John Mack. He's a Harvard-trained psychiatrist who was the head of the Harvard Medical Schools of Psychiatry. He started to talk to people who had contact experience, and he said he had two choices. He could label them as crazy, or because they were so sincere and so grounded, he started to say, well, maybe there's some truth there. And he interviewed hundreds of these contactees and came to the conclusion that we're dealing with a phenomenon which violates our sense of reality, which operates in the gray area between the physical world objectively and the subjective world internally. And we're being asked to prove this by methods of physical science alone, the linear understanding of what we think the world is. Well, that will not work. We'll not yield its secrets until we discover other ways of knowing. This intuition, this telepathy, this inner gnosis that all of us have. If we develop that, then we can meet these beings in the way that they want to be.
And this is what Elizondo also came out with, that there's certain parts of our brain surrounding the pineal gland, everyone's heard about the third eye, pineal gland, that also are elongated by people who've seen extraterrestrials or do remote viewing. Why is this interesting? It's like antenna surrounding a crystal.
Right, especially the cataputated, yeah. This area has been, and people have had contact, have more white matter in this area, and people who can do remote viewing have their more developed brain material there.
And the pineal gland itself is a crystal. There's an actual crystalline particle. It actually works with electromechanical transduction. So our brain itself is like a receiver. We can use the telepathy that they use. We are able to
the Keys of Enoch said in 1973, you go back, you see that there is this network, this crystalline network within our mind. We are biotransducers. We have to wake up by activating the chakras. How do we do this? We do this through music, high levels of spirituality, but mostly through positive design and compassion for others.
So going back to the book again, Key 408, so there's other levels of intelligence in addition to the extraterrestrial that's very important for us to share with you. On the next level of spiritual evolution exists the extracelestial beings who can appear in an energy embodiment. They don't need a UFO. These extracelestials are not ETs, but they're another level of intelligence, usually familiar with us, and they're helping us on planet Earth at a consciousness level. So they're like the avatars, the ancient watchers, the ascended masters. And finally, what we also feel, and we've written about in Making Contact, Alan's book.
The ultra-terrestrials generally are those who have not incarnated here in this level of sonship or daughterhood. Nevertheless, we are connected to them as we were once connected to the higher realms in our origin as part of the Adam Kadmon. This is our biblical language for the higher creative self. The UTs or ultra-terrestrials appear as non-physical, that is to say interdimensional, whole light beings who are momentarily flashes of light, yet you can feel love emanating all around when they appear, and it can be overwhelming for us.
Well, we are becoming that. You know, the pineal gland is right in the middle of your brain, and when babies are born, there's that soft part open because they are getting downloads from the cosmos that we can activate when we open up the crown chakra. That's the key.
So basically, what are we saying? We're in the midst of a vast dimension.
An awesome change, the vibratory likes of which require a Carlos Santana, an Alice Coltrane, those who can activate the higher vibratory nature of the seventh seal, what John the Divine calls the seventh seal that has to be opened into the angelic kingdom.
When we do CE5s, you call them in through your crown because that's the doorway to connection. The pineal gland, the highest chakra in the body. And of course, there's levels outside.
So again, there are many levels of intelligence, and we are being invited right now into a cosmic fellowship, a sacred partnership of new being having acquired our supernature in harmony with our higher states. So we like to do a little meditation for closing. We are the Adamic species, male or female, and the power of El Elyon is the power of the divine in us and around us.
If you read the Holy Scriptures in the original text, it speaks of man, Adam, being unconditionally aware, and the Adam... So El Elyon, the higher Adam, who can speak with God, who can walk with the Godhead like Enoch and explore the other dimensions.
So close your eyes for a second, and we're just going to repeat this as we open our crown because we're going to activate the pineal pituitary system. Go ahead, JJ.
Listen very carefully. I'm going to say this 3 times, and then you can join if you wish.
And bring it in through
the
your
gathering
crown.
of the tribes, the gathering of humanity, we call to you, divine source, to hear the vibration of the higher creation story upon the lips. We are the Adams and Eves of the future. Adam Elyon, Adam Elyon, Adam Elyon. We gather, our brothers and sisters.
If you wish to
Adam Elyon, Adam Elyon, Adam Elyon, Adam Elyon, Adam Elyon. Adam Elyon, Adam Elyon.
So like all mantras, it's a vibration that activates our dimensional body.
We ask Divine Source to pour out your gifts upon the human race, take us out of the world of violence, the false hierarchies of manipulation, allow the Christ nature, allow the supreme nature of working with the elders, the creators, the B'nai Elohim to be with us as we open up a page of new history and prepare for cosmic engagement. Give us humility of the heart and love for all humanity.
Let's go out there in this world, this conference. Let's meet the others, human and non-human, and get ready for a higher reality. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my God, that was her. And the minute I said it, orbs started flashing, 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 flashing all in the sky.